Welcome back, everybody! This video is the third one of a series on how to make hama-mats from hama beads. In this one, we'll design our very first hama-mat. First, I'll tell you how to make a good grid, then I'll discuss some restrictions and reminders. Lastly, the design itself will be made, which will bear either your or somebody else's name. It might become too large to finish with the thread you have, but you have to wait with lengthening your thread until the next video, unless you can figure it out for yourself, of course. First of all, look at this grid I've made with the help of Microsoft Excel and Microsoft Paint. It is much larger than I could ever show you in that notebook of mine. This will enable us to make a nice and large design. Start off by opening Excel and with adjusting columns B to F to a width of 12 pixels. Do not change the height of the rows. Now select column B to F of row 2 and fill up all the edges. Then select the same columns of row 3 and fill up the bottom edge and make sure that any text put in will be centered in the cells. Next, make sure that your font is set to Arial 10 and put one capital I in the 5 columns of the third row. Don't do it for the second row. We're done in Excel now. Make sure your cursor is out of the way and that you've selected a distant cell and press the Print Screen button on your keyboard. Open Paint and press Ctrl V, which will paste your screen in Paint. Select column B to F and row 2 and 3. Cut or copy the selection and paste it in a new file. You don't have to save. Now zoom in, which you can do under View, and use the eraser to erase all the grey lines and use the Line tool to connect the floating black lines, which were your eyes, with the lines above and below it. By copying and pasting this image, you can make your grid as big as you like. For our first design, make it at least 10 rows high. The number of columns depends on the length of the name you want to make. Now save! You'll always have an empty grid ready if you consistently save a design under a different name. In principle, we're now ready to fill the grid with whatever we want to, but I need to point out some restrictions first. First, your design must always have an equal amount of rows. This has to do with the jutting in and out rows again. There must always be one jutting in and one jutting out. It does not matter how long the rows are. And second, you can make great straight horizontal lines, but not vertical ones, while you can make really nice vertical bends, but not horizontal ones. This isn't a problem for some letters, but it is for some others. You can use the filler tool to fill up the cells. Just one note of caution: do not use black yet. If you use black now, it'll be difficult to change something later on. Try it if you don't believe me. Just use another color, I usually use gray, and change them to black when you're done. With writing, I use 5 rows for the letters, and I give the mat a nice colored edge. Sometimes I add an underline, or perhaps even some flowers, but I didn't do that for this design. Here are 2 possibilities for our center. It's up to you to decide which one you like best. Don't be afraid to experiment yourself. Just try to see what works for you. Will you prefer the consistency of capital letters over the prettiness of the letters, or will you compromise? Once you're done, you can use the technique of the previous video to make the mats. Designing mats isn't limited to just writing. You can make whatever you want to. I'm currently working on the 8th mat of a series depicting the Pokemon Eevee and its 7 evolutions. Here's a sneak preview of Eevee. They may not be perfect, but I think they're rather pretty. I used examples on the internet to design these. They are a great reference. That concludes this video. Only a few more subjects need to be addressed, and those will come in the next video, which will be the last one. Just keep on designing and practicing in the meantime. There's so much you can do now. Until the next time.